Hi, friends. Welcome to the Book Traveler Club. I'm your host, Vicky. Today, we'll be exploring the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Are you ready? Let's go. Think back to the last time you set a new goal or tried to build a new habit. Perhaps you told yourself, I want to lose 5 kg by June this year. And you signed up for the gym membership, feeling eager that you would hit the gym 4 times a week. Or perhaps you dream of starting a business and spend some sleepless nights brainstorming ideas and thought of executing it next month. Now, let's take 5 seconds to pause and reflect. Where are you with those goals today? If you're making great progress, congratulations. But if you feel stuck or unsatisfied with your results, don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, studies show that 80% of those who signed up for any gym membership in January will have already quit by the end of the month. And for aspiring podcasters like me, 90% do not make it past episode 3. Also, 92% of the people surveyed who seriously consider starting a business didn't follow through. So you might ask, what's the magic that would help you to stick with your goals, build strong habits, start your business, and ultimately become the person you have always wanted to become? That's the magic that we're going to unveil in today's podcast, all about atomic habits. Ready to dive in? The book, full name is Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. James is a writer and speaker focused on habits, decision-making, and continuous improvement. He has more than 3 million subscribers to his email newsletter, and it all started from zero, back from the day he made a decision to write 2 blog posts per week in 2012. Within 2 years, from 2012 to 2014, he already piled up 100,000 subscribers, and until now, 3 million. I think he himself is a solid example proving his core statement in the book on how to create good habits, break bad ones, and get 1% better every day. James believes if you're having trouble changing your habits, the problem isn't you, but rather is your system. In this book, he listed a lot of real-life examples of Olympic gold medalists, business leaders, and star comedians. Therefore, if you're like me, always being ambitious to try out new things like having a business, a side hustle, or running a marathon, but you struggle with not knowing where to start because your goal is too massive, or not knowing how to persist through the boredom and also the dark hole of not seeing progress and struggling to continue, this book is for you. It reshapes the way you think about progress and gives you the tools you need to transform your habits. I will be sharing 5 key takeaways that you can start applying to your life today to become the healthier, happier, and stronger you. Key takeaway number 1. You are your habits. Your habits are you. So the real question isn't just what do you want to achieve? It's who do you want to become? James breaks this down into 3 layers of behavioral change, like peeling an onion. The outer layer focuses on changing outcomes, like losing weight. The second layer focuses on changing your process, like adopting a new workout routine. But the most powerful, the most inner and delicate layer is about changing your identity. Seeing yourself as the kind of person you want to become. For example, I am a healthy person. I am an entrepreneur. I am a great leader, etc. Many people begin the process of building habits by focusing on the outcomes. Yet, the most long-lasting way is to focus on building identity-based habits. We focus on who do we wish to become? Here is a practical example from the book. Two people trying to quit smoking. When offered a cigarette, one says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." While the other says, "No thanks, I am not a smoker." It is a very small difference, but the latter statement signals a shift in identity. Behind every system of actions is a system of beliefs. You do what you believe in. Perhaps try this next time when you want to build good habits. Rather than telling yourself, "I want to read a book every week," say to yourself, "I am a reader." Then when you have free time, ask yourself, what would a reader do? Or instead of trying to read many management articles on how to become a better manager, a better leader, tell yourself, "I'm a supportive and inspiring leader." Then when situation arises, that maybe there are conflicts at work or your coworkers come to you about something, ask yourself, how would an aspiring leader act on this occasion? Would it be active listening or something else? Your habits are how you embody your identity. The more you repeat the behavior, the more you reinforce the identity associated with the behavior. Therefore, decide the type of person you want to be and prove it to yourself with small wins. I've been going to the gym 3 times a week for 6 months already. Why am I still out of shape? I've been learning Spanish for almost a year and I can barely speak. I still feel like I'm not progressing at all. Do these statements sound familiar to you? Think of this example. Imagine an ice cube sitting on the table. When it's 27 degree, 28 degree, 29 degree, or 30 degree, nothing seems to change. But when it hits 32 degrees, the ice begins to melt. Breakthrough moments are often the result of many previous actions. Just like how James was writing 2 blog posts per day every week for the first 2 years, consistently, until he gains traction and have more subscribers. Or you find yourself struggling to run 3 km at the very beginning, and every single km you ran, you can barely breathe. It's just very heavily breathing, your legs are dragging on the floor, but then one day, you realize you can smoothly run through 10 km. It's the same for habits. Habits often appear to make no difference until you cross a critical threshold and unlock a new level of performance. Your habits need to persist long enough to break through this plateau. And the plateau is called Plateau of Latent Potential by James Clear. And before you have this plateau, you're usually struggling in the valley of disappointment. So if you find yourself struggling to build a good habit or break a bad one, it's not because you have lost your ability to improve. It's because you're still in this valley of disappointment that are building up your pathway to cross the plateau of latent potential. Complaining about not achieving success despite working hard is like complaining about the ice cube not melting when you hit it from 25 to 31 degrees. Your work was not waste. It's just being stored. And all the action happens at 32 degrees, the degree of that critical threshold. When you finally break through the plateau of latent potential, people will call it an overnight success. So I challenge you, hang in there long enough to see the success yourself. Key takeaway number 3. Massive success requires tiny action. We always tell ourselves massive success requires massive action. Whether this is about building a business, losing weight, writing a book, winning a championship. But all big things come from small beginnings. It's so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements daily. Changes that seem small and unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you're willing to stick with them for years. James used the example of the British cycling team, who experienced decades of mediocrity. Fun fact, no bike company even want to sponsor the bikes to the team because they were so worried that it might impact the sales. Yet, the new coach, Dave, he believed in the aggregation of marginal gains, so that when he became the coach of the British cycling team, he found 100+ different small improvements that the team could make. Whether this is about the bike seats, they were redesigned, alcohol was applied on the tires for better grip, and riders were electrically heated over shorts to maintain muscle temperature. Dave even found the best type of massage gel for muscle recovery, and not to even mention finding the best type of pillow and mattress that led to the best night's sleep for the athletes. So you can imagine all these hundreds of small improvements they accumulate, the results get so much faster than everyone has imagined. So after many years of mediocrity, the result is, after 5 years, they got 60% of all the gold medals in 2012 London Olympics and set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. From mediocrity to excellence, remember this quote from James. If you get 1% better every day for a year, you will end up 37 times better by the year's end. So challenge yourself. For all the projects or the goals that you try to start or try to achieve, how could you break the future success into many of tiny actions that you can start doing daily? If your goal is to land your dream job in today's very tough job market, perhaps starting review every single area with a pair of fresh eyes. 1% change in your resume format, 1% change in the message that you send out to the LinkedIn recruiter, or in the self-introduction you make in your first interview, or the technical knowledge that you gain. So when all these tiny changes combine together, you're going to witness a very huge impact. So remember this, massive success requires tiny action. And connecting back to what we said in key takeaway 2, hang in there long enough to see the plateau of latent potential. Okay, now you know who you want to become, and you learn about small changes compound together mean big changes, and you need to hang in there long enough. The question is then, how do we build the small habits that are so easy to stick with and very natural to do it on a daily basis? I've now condensed 4 chapters in the book into this one key takeaway. So in order to make good habits last, these are the 4 core elements James mentioned. Obvious, easy, attractive, and satisfying. OEAS. Let's go into this one by one. The first one that you can make it obvious, there are 2 approaches. First is when situation X arises, I will perform response Y. So for example, when I finish my dinner and rest for 30 minutes, I will then start learning German grammar. So then you bundle up something together, and it would be more natural and obvious for you to do it. The other approach that you can do is called habits stacking. After I do the current habit, I will then the new habit. So for example, after I get into bed at night, this is what you currently do, I will kiss my partner. The key is to tie your desired behavior into something you already do each day. So make it obvious. You can either think of a situation arise, then perform response, or habit stacking. And to bad habits, the point is to make it invisible. Do not trust that you have that much discipline, because research shows that discipline is limited. If you always have to use it, for example, to avoid playing computer games so much, to avoid smoking, to avoid eating unhealthy food, you will eventually run out of it. So that's why the environment is essential. You have to make your bad habits invisible. For example, I love to eat sweet or fried food, then I basically avoid having sugar or fried food in my house. When I cannot find them, I don't necessarily have to use my discipline to avoid myself eating it. So that's make it obvious or make it invisible. Then it comes to make it attractive. The formula is very simple. After I, the current habit, I will do the habit that you need. And after the habit that you need, you will then reward something that you want. So this is the anticipation of the reward that gets us going. This is an example. After I finish dinner, I will go out for a walk for 30 minutes, which is a new habit. After the walk, I will then reward myself for 30 minutes Netflix time. So make it attractive. Make yourself craving for the reward after this new habit is done. Next, make it easy. The most effective form of learning is practice, not planning. It is so easy to always get bogged down trying to find the optimal plan for change, the fastest way to lose weight, the best program to build muscle, the perfect idea of side hustle. But then if you want to truly master a habit, the key is to start with repetition, not perfection. James, in his book, suggested this 2-minute rule. Try to make your habit as easy as possible, such as reading 1 page, opening your notes, sitting in front of your chair. You might find it weird. To set your habit is just to read 1 page, but then the point is to master the habit of showing up. The more you ritualize the beginning of a process, the more likely it becomes that you can slip into this state of deep focus that is required to do great things. So start it with a very small habit and keep it going. And the last law, make it satisfying. Think about this. With our bad habits, the immediate outcome usually feels very good, right? But then the ultimate outcome feels bad. But with good habits, the immediate outcome is usually not so enjoyable, but the ultimate outcome feels good. So when you make a plan, whether it's about writing a book or losing weight, you are actually making plans for your future self. But usually when the moment of decision comes, the instant gratification wins. As a general rule, the more immediate pleasure you get from an action, the more strongly you should question whether it aligns with your long-term goals. So about make it satisfying, in order to keep your habit, you just have to feel your gratification earlier. For example, documenting your progress and seeing it visually on a habit tracker is satisfying. If you have an accountability buddy, you guys acknowledging each other's progress is also very satisfying. One hint though, there is always this version of every habit that can bring you joy and satisfaction. Find it. Habits need to be enjoyable if they're going to stick. So you can start asking yourself these kind of questions. What feels like fun to me, but work to others? What makes me lose track of time? What comes naturally to me? Etc. By asking yourself this question, you can start truly finding the habits that are enjoyable and stand to your characters. If you're still listening until here, thank you for your patience. Now you have learned, number 1, you're your habits. Your habits are you. Number 2, start small. Number 3, make your habits obvious, easy, attractive, and satisfying so that, number 4, you can stick around and cross the plateau of latent potential. Here we are at the last key takeaway, number 5, which is embracing boredom. At the end, I would like to really talk about how to stay focused when you get bored working on your goals. Because this is one thing that the book really speaks truly to my heart. As I have been a habit builder for a very long period of time, I do have the discipline to show up and I enjoy doing a lot of different habits. But then the biggest blockers is that I get bored. It's like during a day, my calendar is filled with 7 or 8 different habits. It feels boring of repeating the same thing every day. And I've been asking a lot of people around me, is there a magical way to just have this extremely happy feeling every day when you're working on your habits so that you don't feel bored? But then, Atomic Habits, this book really speaks truly to me because the author said, and also everyone that he has interviewed in the book said, there's no magical wand. Mastery requires practice. And the truth is, the more you practice something, the more boring and routine it becomes. And the greatest threat to success is actually not failure, but boredom. At some point, the best violinist, the best runner, everybody would feel bored. But then what differentiates the successful one is that they still find a way to show up despite their feelings of boredom. It's about going to training, even though you don't feel like so. And publishing the blog post you want to publish, even you don't feel like writing it, just like how James wrote in his book. So that's it, friend. After this episode, I hope that you will start reviewing your goals and break them into small, tiny habits that are attractive and obvious. And you are patient enough to cross the plateau and embrace boredom and eventually become the person you want to become. I'll see you in the next episode.